welcome back, everybody, to the DanJohnUniversity.com podcast. I'm Dan John. Well, we're another remote location today. I'm on Rainbow Beach in beautiful Australia. I love this place. Rainbow Beach gets its name from a evil boomerang that hit a good rainbow. So it's lovely, it's wonderful. I've seen a lot of interesting wildlife, and including this morning, I got to see some whales, which was wonderful. This is episode 317, and as a reminder, each and every time, if you have questions, and I'd love to answer them, you'll send them to the podcast at this address, podcast@danjohnuniversity.com. Our first question is an interesting one because I can understand Lewis's issue here. Lewis says this: I've read or heard a couple of times from you that anywhere from 15 to 30 reps is enough for every movement pattern per session, outside of loaded carries and hinges, because those are really kind of hard to measure quantitatively. Reminder, if you deadlift 600 for one rep, is that the same as doing 60 for 10 reps? Well, no. But now the volume's the same, but the intensity is frighteningly different. So hinges and loaded carries are a little bit different of an animal. However, your popular armor building formula program's goal, you can find that at danjohnuniversity.com/bookstore, which is supposed to be focused on hypertrophy, is reaching 30 rounds of ABC, which accounts for 30 presses, 60 cleans, and 90 squats. So I'm confused. What's the point of doing so much volume if not for conditioning? Okay, so there's a whole bunch of ways to address all the issues in your body composition, your sports performance, and really your general fitness goals. Clyde Emmerich, who was a teammate of Tommy Kono's, a really underappreciated figure in weightlifting, really underappreciated. I always loved his training. He trained with a standard barbell, not an Olympic barbell. He did a non-hook grip in his training, and he always liked doing things harder. Became the Chicago Bears strength coach. Now, it's important to note that because many people think one of the greatest teams of all time was the 1985 Chicago Bears. You can argue that, really any way you want. But one of the things he said in an interview one time that I thought was brilliant, he said this, Luis. He said, for the barbell, your best rep scheme is singles, doubles, triples, fives, and maybe up to eights. With dumbbells and kettlebells, you can do a lot more, but with machines, you can even do a lot more. Now, gentle listeners, if someone gave you a workout program that was 3 sets of 3 in the machine leg curl, at least I would go, huh? Because that just doesn't sound right to me. So like in my gym, when I do hip thrusts and I do leg extensions, we really focus on 20s and 25s, because as you simplify movements, so there's two things. So barbells tend to be less reps. Kettlebells and dumbbells, more in that moderate zone. And of course, with machines, you go a little bit higher. And of course, with calisthenics, and don't get me started on some of the stuff I read online, but with calisthenics, you tend to go even higher than that. When I was in high school, it was not unusual for us to do 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups in a normal workout or practice session. No wonder we all have shoulder problems and lower back problems today, because we didn't do them very well. So one of the things you have to keep in mind is that in strength and conditioning, in health, fitness, sports performance, longevity, is that you're going to have a spectrum, a continuum, a rainbow, if you will, if you're at Rainbow Beach, of options for everything. So it is true, there are times where you can make great progress, say in the Olympic lifts, with nothing but singles. I had some pretty solid success with that at many spots in my career. And then at other times you move to 7 sets of 5. Well, why would you do 7 sets of 5? Because you're in a different place with different needs for the Olympic lifts. In the power lifts, my good friend Marty Gallagher, who I think is a genius, he starts off every single cycle with 8 reps. Now, 8 reps is a lot of reps in the deadlift. But then he slides down to 5, then he slides down to 3, then he slides down to 2, and then you go to the World Championships and you win. With the armor building formula, it is a short-term hypertrophy program. In the same way that Mass Made Simple, my other book available at Amazon or otpbooks.com, probably my second best-selling book of all time. It's a short 6-week high rep squat program. It is not something you're going to do for the rest of your life. It is something that you do it and then you say, to quote Tom Haverford from Parks and Rec, you're donezo, okay? You've done the job. Armor building formula, you do it 8 weeks, 2-week prep, 6 weeks to the program. You look at your before and after pictures, you look at your measurements, and then you say to yourself, where do I go from here? I hope that answered the question. Just remember, every rep number, every set scheme, every training program has value. And I think we make the mistake sometimes, and this will come up again today in this podcast, that people like to say, this is right and this is wrong. And the problem is every tool you have, every piece of equipment, every machine, every rep scheme has value at appropriate times. When Tom DeLorme was first working with survivors of polio and World War II disabled veterans, he was giving them 10 sets of 10 and many exercises. But as they improved, he slid down to 7 sets of 10. And then later on, Luis, he gave us this wonderful number of about 3 sets of 8, 3 sets of 10, a set of 10, a set of 5, and a set of 10. They all work. Everything works for about 6 weeks. I hope that was helpful, my friend, okay? I appreciate the question, but just remember, every program, every idea is appropriate. It's an appropriate tool for the right time. As I had a friend say this yesterday at a workshop, the hammer is a wonderful tool, but it doesn't make a very good screwdriver, and it's not a very good tool, for opening a milk jug. I thought that was pretty good. Thank you. Our next question comes from Patrick, and Patrick says this: I am a 41-year-old male whose main focus is staying healthy as I age. Patrick, I wish I could just stop right now and then underline it and then send this out, on an SOS message to the world. My main focus is staying healthy as I age. That is fantastic to hear. I have an odd schedule where I work 7 overnights in a row, and then I have 7 days off. I have a home gym made up of kettlebells up to double 32s, a dip chin station, and a TRX. That's a good home gym. Since COVID, I've worked out exclusively at home. This fall, both of my kids, 5 and 7, will be going to school full-time, which leaves me with this thing called free time, which I haven't had since they were born. Man, when my daughter Lindsay went off to full-day kindergarten, I just felt all this time rush back into my life. And by the way, for those of you who have at all followed my career, you'll notice that when she turned 5, my discus started going farther and my Highland Games got better. My wife and I have decided to join a gym so we can go when they are at school. I love this. I'm hoping to get back into barbell training, but my schedule makes it hard to follow a program as I can't make it to the gym during my 7 days on. I was thinking I could alternate easy strength 1 week and kettlebells the next week. I would love to hear how you would train with a schedule like this. Well, one thought, and Patrick, this is just an idea I'm giving to you. Nobody else listen to this, okay? I've got that program called the Armor Building Formula. How fun would it be for you to do the ABC and high rep presses in the ABC 1 week, and the week you're at the gym, do the Armor Building Formula for barbells? That's one idea. I don't want you to lift 7 days a week, but you also at home have a dip and chin station and a TRX. So maybe on those alternate days, so when you're doing the Armor Building Complex, you could walk over and get some, you could get some dips in. On the day you're doing the high rep presses, you could get some chin-ups in. And then after those, you could use a TRX to do those things that I think are the best things TRXs are made for. The single arm plank, the T's, the Y's, and the I's. When you go to the gym, you could do, I'm going to say barbell program, and maybe 3 days a week. It could be a powerlifting program, 3 sets of 3. It can be, the armor building formula. It could be whatever you feel like doing. But I think you're going to find that by doing this, you're going to push these programs out from 6 to 8 weeks to, 12 to 16 weeks. But the nice thing is, by doing 2 modalities, you're going to get some benefits that a kettlebell only or barbell only program might not get. My friend, I love the idea. So I would say, go forth and conquer. If you decide to use a traditional barbell program, like the ones I used as a child, the Sears barbell program, Ted Williams' program, Miles Callum's program, boy, I tell you, I'm thinking about the Bosco program too. Doing Bosco's program too, that's basically clean and press, squat, bench press, row. It's just a curl. It's just such a traditional program. You do that 3 days a week, and then the next week you do something else. By the way, the Miles Callum program, the Sears program, they're all about the same. You did clean and press, you did clean and press, you did row, you did a squat variation, but it was usually light because you had to pick the bar up off the floor and deal with it. And you always did curls in these programs. They were marvelous programs, and I really think it set the foundation for my entire career. So I like the idea, and go do it. Hey, thank you, great question. Listen, we have an interesting question that came up on the YouTube comments, and I wanted to thank everybody who posts on YouTube. The problem with the YouTube comments is, usually the people responding, their names are Big Guns 75 or, I am the champion 22 or something like that. So I don't have the name, but one of our fine people asked, I talked a few weeks ago about how I train when I travel. So I thought, okay, well, I'm on a trip right now. Let's demonstrate basically in real time. Now I cut it back, but the following video is how I train in real time. Now I do have a warning for everybody. I am in swim trunks and a t-shirt, so for those of you who are faint of heart. Hey, hi, I had a question on the podcast about training while I travel, and they asked for me to do a demonstration, which, okay, here we go. So I always travel with a glute loop and just a real easy, cheap mini band, and I always keep my pedometer with me too. Sometimes when I travel, when I go to Europe, I don't need it. It'll be 20,000 steps because, if you go from Twickenham to Richmond and back, it's a long day. But on other trips where I'm working and workshopping, it's a real valuable tool to remind me that I'm not getting my steps in, or that I'm getting more work in than I thought. So we don't need to worry about that right now. But what's great about these two is they fold flat. They fit very nicely into any carry-on, and they take no room. So let me just show you what I do. This is the most important thing I do if I'm dealing with jet lag, and I'm dealing with it right now. But who cares, right? So glute loops. First thing I do, as soon as I can, I strap up. Oh, by the way, I'm going swimming right after this too. So. And the 2 exercises I do the hip thrust, and then I do clamshells. The hip thrust and the clamshell, at least for me, get rid of most of my travel issues. When you sit in a chair for a long time, I just get that gluteal amnesia. The hip thrust and the clamshell, for me, deal with most of it. Generally, I'll do 25 hip thrusts, 10 clamshells, 20 hip thrusts, 10 clamshells, 15 hip thrusts, 10 clamshells, 10 hip thrusts, 10 clamshells, and then 5 hip thrusts and 5 clamshells. After that, I put the mini band on, and then my favorite way to use it is just to simply monster walk. A few rounds of that is Really wakes up my legs, gets me going. You can also go sideways. And after that, I feel like I'm okay here. The walking, the hip thrust, the clamshells, the monster walks take care of most of the problems. For my upper body, if I can, I'll try to find a place to hang, or in this case, I'm just gonna go do some work in the pool. I hope that helps. Great question, and I hope this was a good demonstration. Well, welcome back, everybody. I hope that made sense. And yes, I did make a mistake. I do 5 hip thrusts and 10 clamshells, but I always hate when I explain numbers on my videos. I always get a little uncomfortable. So thank you. That's how I train: hip thrust, clamshells, mini band, monster walks. I do some walking. I do some marching. I work my shoulders any way I can with the equipment or what I have. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you. Our next question is from Ben. And Ben, I cannot believe how timely this was. You talk a lot about your daily meditation practice. I like to do it, but I have a hard time prioritizing it in my busy schedule. Can you talk about the benefits you see in yourself because of this practice? How long has meditation been part of your life? What are some of the benefits you've seen in yourself after establishing a consistent routine? I'd love to hear some coaching cues and other practice. And there's a whole bunch of other questions which I'm going to answer very quickly. So I get Greg O'Gallagher from Kino Body's emails. And just this morning, I got an email that he shared about a 1996 study about fat loss and meditation. And those who were in the program, they did the exact same fat loss program, and they did, except for one difference. One group of one cohort did meditation, the other cohort did not. And as you can always imagine, and you always have to be careful about this, because when you add another factor, the people with more factors tend to do better, but it doesn't matter. The results over time were outstanding. Those who meditated in the fat loss program did better and maintained better by a ridiculous number. So I have 2 basic practices. I have a lifetime subscription to brain.fm. One thing I do like is they have 15-minute guided meditations. I like the way they used to do the site, where I could just stick to one meditation every time. Now they're starting to rotate them, and I frankly hate one of them. The woman says, be a human being, not a human doing. And when you've heard that 3 or 4 times, it just doesn't work well anymore. There is one called Rain Reflection that I get a lot out of. In fact, it's funny because I don't know if I fall asleep or not, but I go deep every time I hear it. And that's one thing everyone who does meditation is going to have to understand. The first few times, your mind is wandering all over the place. After a few times, it gets better and better and better. And then pretty soon, you don't know if you fall asleep or you're in meditation. I'll come out of a meditation, just simply 15 minutes, and I'm not sure whether or not I went into a deep sleep or deep meditation. And I think that's a good place to be. I also it's a free app available called the 1 Moment Meditation. I'm sure you could also do it with your phone, but I like this one. You close your eyes, you get a ding. 1 minute later, you get another ding. And what I do during that 1 minute is I count my breaths. And I find, this is kind of interesting, if in 1 minute I breathe 15 times, probably not a good day to Olympic lift. Weirdly, if I only have 1, 2, or 3 breaths, for whatever reason, I'm not in a great place to do certain things. I find that if I'm in that 5, 6, 7 range, those are my best lifting days. So when do I use the 1 minute meditation? Whenever I go in for any kind of therapy, whenever I go into any kind of doctor's visit, whenever I go to the Red Cross to donate blood, I always do it. It only takes a minute. Sometimes, the Red Cross where I live, there are times I'll have a 9:45 appointment, and they don't put me in the chair until 10:15, 10:30, 10:45. Personally, I find it annoying because I made an appointment. And I'll be honest, donating blood for me, I wouldn't say it's stressful, but they're sticking a needle and stealing your blood, So for dental appointments, I do it in that few minutes. I always get there early, and I find it makes me calmer. I also noticed that I can tell with my blood pressure if I did it or not. My blood pressure numbers are very good. My heart rate at my last medical doctor appointment was 58. Folks, I'm 68, and having a 58 is pretty good. My blood pressure is low. I think my daily meditation really helps with my blood pressure. It helps me when driving around in Utah so I don't have road rage. And I just think sometimes it kind of makes me a better person. So thank you. Good question. Those are my two practices. So the long-term benefits, and once again, I've lost 1 pound a month for the last 48 months. Maybe it's the daily meditations that's just as valuable. I don't think about it as much, but I really don't, because I thought it was the 10,000 steps every day, I'm 100 calories under my, what the formula baseline says, and I lift weights 3 days a week. I thought it was that was doing much of the heavy lifting, so to speak, in my fat loss program. But honestly, after reading this from Greg, I'm wondering if maybe the meditation is a powerful tool that keeps me doing those 10,000 steps every day, that keeps me on track and keeps me going. Again, as always, your mileage may vary, but I get great benefits out of it. You asked how long I've been doing it. I have been doing it consistently. I tried to do it in college. I took a class on it, wasn't very good. But when I visited the Olympic Training Center in 1984, that's one of the things I was taught how to do. I then read Relax and Win by Bud Winters, who gave me some other ideas. I wouldn't say it's been perfect, but clearly I have memories from 86 and 87, making my own meditation tapes. And of course, with the onset of CDs, it became really easy to do them. Audio tapes were good. These little audio tapes were good, but I found CDs much better because you had so much more control of how you get into them. My good friend, Dr. Gabriel Colosimo, and I experimented with a whole bunch of these back in the mid 80s. I even used those affirmation CDs. I like myself, I like myself, I like myself. I didn't get a lot out of those, frankly, but I found that personally, it's going to sound strange, but for me, British male voices with background music and a simple, like the rain reflection, the noise of rain seems to be the best one for me. Well, thank you, and that is a great question. We have a question from Piers that is really, I got to tell you, it's difficult for me to answer. And Piers says this. He says, "Dear Dan, love the podcast. First time, long time." He says this: "I went online and read up," okay, there's your first mistake. You went on the internet, but we'll move on. "I went online and read that suitcase carries have no value. They only work one muscle. So should I stop doing them?" Okay, this is why I'm frustrated, but first point, we have been in this bodybuilding metaphor for all strength training since Arnold's Education of a Bodybuilder came out, and I bought a copy the first day it came out. It's this Frankenstein's monster idea that, this is arm day, this is leg day. When I Olympic lift, it's a trap exercise. When I clean and jerk, it's a rhomboid exercise. When I throw the discus, it's a pec exercise, says every terrible thrower of all time. That's my first criticism about that point, and I'm frustrated with it. And my second one is, what's with all the moral theology in the weight room? Good exercises and bad exercises. I mean, there are good things and there are bad things in this planet, but every tool, every piece of equipment, every exercise, I don't know what to tell you. In the movie Grease, You know, where the guardian angel shows up.
Why are you looking so glum, my friend?
It's Tim Anderson, my guardian angel. Tim, I'm lost. Jeepers. People say the suitcase carry has no value. Will you tell my friends? Will you help me here?
So the suitcase carry has extreme value, and it does only work one muscle if you can see that the body is one whole muscle. So when we carry the suitcase or a heavy suitcase by our sides, reflexively, everything in your body fires to protect your brain so that you don't fall over and, hit your head. And so if I'm holding it on my left side though, my right side has to work really, really hard to keep my body upright. And so I don't know which one muscle this would be if you're looking at the body as 600 muscles, but this would be like at least half of them on just this side alone. However, if I'm holding it on this side, it's working my rotator cuffs, it's so that they can stabilize the shoulder joint, it's working my grip. And just with the principles of irradiation alone, that is going to radiate through my entire body, which is actually acting as one whole muscle versus several different muscles. The bottom line though is that if you want to get really, really strong, it's very good to be able to train your body reflexively so that it responds the way it's supposed to, as it's designed to. And a super easy way to train the body reflexively is to do offset carries. So if I want to work the back side of my body, I could carry something in front. And if I want to work the left side of my body, I could carry something to my right. And just by doing that and changing my center of gravity, my body has to reflexively adjust without any cognitive thought to endure the task. And as long as I honor my body's design and I listen to it when it says, hey, I've carried this too long or this is too heavy and I can no longer maintain that optimal reflexive posture, then I'm always going to get benefit from doing loaded carries.
Did that just happen? Okay, we have a question from Nacho, which is a great name. I wanted to thank you for the armor building formula. It has been a tremendous impact on my training and mindset. Since purchasing the book, remember, it's at danjohnuniversity.com/bookstore. I'm very proud of it. I read a nice comment on Reddit the other day. The person expected a program and it's a book, and that's the way I do things. So thank you, kind writer on Reddit. He's currently doing the ABF with 28 kilo kettlebells, which is a pretty good effort. He started last year with the 24s, and I have no desire to switch programs. Oh, that's great. It simplifies my life and training. I don't have to overthink which exercises to do. I just record my reps from the ABC, Armor Building Complex, and the pressing day, and I'm done in around 30 minutes. It fits perfectly into my routine, and the results over the past few months have been fantastic. Currently, I'm in a fat loss phase. I maintain a daily caloric deficit of about 400 to 500 kilocalories. That's excellent, 400, 500. The only thing I would just say, Nacho, if you begin to feel like you're burning out, don't be afraid to add a few calories, because 500 calories a day, I do that sometimes, but that's technically in a week you should lose a pound doing that, and that's a lot. And if you can sustain that, that's awesome. And I follow the armor building formula. And then he says, and walk between 10,000 and 14,000 steps each day, as Greg O'Gallagher suggests. That's the second time we mentioned Greg today. And I follow armor building formula with my kettlebells exactly as you recommend. That is really interesting. In the new version of the ABF I'm coming out with, you're doing what I think is right. Get the walks in, especially after the workout. Have some caloric limitations. I love this. I couldn't be happier. I'm gradually building a muscular, defined body in a sustainable and manageable way. That said, I have a question. Would it be possible to follow the armor building program just twice a week instead of 3 times? That is just very funny, because I have a program called the Weekend Warrior. Maybe I should put this into into an upcoming Wandering Weights. Folks, if you don't have my newsletter, Wandering Weights, Go to danjohnuniversity.com and you can sign up for it. It's free. There's no sales pitch. There's no, buy this. And I share programs. You can also find it. I put it on a Reddit thread, and I might have put it onto another forum, but it's called the Weekend Warrior, and it's exactly what you're asking here. Specifically, I'm wondering if I could alternate just 2 strong workouts, say Monday and Thursday, rather than the traditional light, medium, hard rotation. Since I'd be resting more days, I imagine I would approach each workout with more intensity and energy. Would this adjustment be effective, or would I be sacrificing too much progress by dropping the 2 sessions per week? I would only say this, I'm going to give you a little caveat. I like the idea. So let's say you're doing the armor building complex on Monday. I like that. And you're doing the high rep presses on Thursday. Since you're in that big caloric deficit and you're getting if you're getting those 14,000 steps at the 500 kilocalorie deficit, I think you're good. However, for those of you listening who aren't getting that 14,000, 13,000 steps, and you're not getting a caloric deficit, you probably want to come in on Sunday or Saturday and maybe get another light round, maybe 10 rounds of the ABC, just enough to get work going. If your name is Nacho and you're doing the 14,000 steps, plus you're doing the minus 500 kilocalories, hey, I think it's going to work. I would really, really be interested in a follow-up on this, Nacho. I want you to email the podcast at danjohnuniversity.com. I want you to make sure when you do that to make a note that I specifically asked you to send a note to me. I'll have your email address and we can follow up on this. Nacho, I am impressed with this and I hope it works. For those of you interested in a pretty simple fat loss program, or you're a weekend warrior, you're a busy mom or dad, you could do, this is what I recommend, Saturday, it depends, always shows up right now, but let's just say this, Saturday, armor building complex, Sunday, high rep pressing, and then midweek, generally Wednesday for most people, a light tonic ABC, plus getting your steps and watching your calorie. The more energy you save for walking, the more energy you save for cutting calories for fat loss is better than trying to, that's been said 100 times, but I like Tom Furman's book, You Can't Outrun a Donut. So you can't outrun bad calorie choices. Whew, thank you so much. We have a question from Benjamin, and Benjamin says this. First, thank you for all the content and information you provide. I'm a 48-year-old man who will turn 49, your mere child, in July of next year. I am familiar with your powerlifting style free weight training. I am familiar with powerlifting style free weight training, and I have incorporated more kettlebell training in the last year or 2. I have never trained in any of the Olympic lifts. Would you recommend starting a new weightlifting journey learning these lifts? Or should I stick with the programs I am more familiar with? One of the nice things about my inner circle, and I guess we're going to have another group coming up. I think there's links at Dan John University to sign up for the next round of the inner circle. In fact, it might even be in the show notes every week of this. But through the years, a number of our participants have just decided, I'm going to learn the Olympic lifts. It's fun because sometimes it's just broomsticks, sometimes it's just the empty barbell, sometimes it's 40 kilos, 88 pounds, and some others have gotten into some serious good numbers. What's great about learning the Olympic lifts is it's another challenge for you. You might not, I'm guessing you're not going to make your national team and represent your team, your nation at the Olympics. But that doesn't mean you're not going to learn things. One of the things I think a lot of people are afraid to do, especially online, is trying new things. If you always do the same thing, you're always going to get the same results. What the Olympic lifts are going to teach you is a different kind of mobility, a different kind of flexibility, a different way of doing tempo and speed, and you're going to discover things about yourself, like maybe you have extremely tight wrists, extremely tight ankles, And the other thing that's kind of cool is you're whipping weights over your head, and there's real value in keeping those fast twitch muscle fibers. You have about 6 or 7 years of your life to really learn the yoga lifts. And then once you hit 55, and there's nothing wrong with this, I compete as a 68-year-old in the Olympic lifts, but once you get there, the rules start to change quickly. So what I'm telling you here is this knowledge you're going to get in mobility, flexibility, tempo, speed, they're going to carry over until you're my age, okay? So I like the idea. Over at danjohnuniversity.com, we have a number of easy strength protocols. I also have my beginner stuff in the downloads or programs area. We have From the Ground Up, one of the first books I ever put online. It's free, and I'm sure you can find it online anyway. But just get started. Do you need to hire a coach? It's not a terrible idea. Like I always tell people, when someone pays me to teach them to throw the discus, I have a hard time walking because my jaw drops so much. Great question. Thank you so much. We got a question from David. I'm 50. My goal is to lose weight, 50 pounds to lose, the 50 for 50 program. I walk 10,000 steps a day, started rucking again, and I love to work out. I get bored, however. I am the definition of the program jumper. I do 5-3-1 and get burnt out on that after a few months. Did the 40-day program, got bored after that. Currently doing calisthenics, push-ups, banded pull-ups, squats, and now bored at that. I'm the guy who would prefer to work out versus train programs. I get discouraged easy with not having time. I work 12-hour shifts with 3 hours round trip to commute. Up to 15 hours of my day is dedicated to work or getting to work. 25 years of graveyards. Time is an issue. Maybe retiring soon. Diet is an issue. I have a great home gym with lots of weights and kettlebells. What would you recommend? Quick workout to keep me interested. Love the podcast and your books. You answered your own question. Okay, you're a program jumper, but do you really think it's the program that's keeping your body weight up? You think it's the program? You're walking 10,000 steps a day. You think it's the 10,000 steps? You need to go to 11,000 steps? David, I love you. I care for you. You got to lock in your caloric control. I do it. I tell you, man, when I first started fasting, I fasted a lot of times in my life for religious purposes. But when I started doing the daily intermittent fast, oh, by the way, I also did the 3-day and 5-day fasts, and I got very little value out of those. What's the word we're looking for? Yeah, I'm not tough enough. I did the prolonged diet before COVID. I did get some blood composition, blood profile changes from that. But you got to lock down the diet, my friend. I want you to do something simple. You can go to Brad Pillen and use his height chart to figure out how many calories you need a day. According to Brad, I should be at 2,700 calories a day. Or you can do your goal weight. My coach, Scott, he tells me you pick your goal weight and you multiply your goal weight by 13, which puts me at 2,600 calories. Recently, we've lowered my goal, so now I'm at 2,500 calories. But for those listening, I'm 6 feet, was that 184, 186 in centimeters. At my height and my goal, it's always 25, 26, 27. I found this massive formula online from this nutritionist. I spent fortunately I have I had a calculator with me. So I spent the better part of 25, 26 minutes figuring it out. And I think it came out to 2,550 calories a day. Pilon says 27. My coach said 26, and now I'm at 25. Basically, you spend hours doing this, but it's calorie control. I deal with calorie control by waking up, fasting until I get all my work done, my workout in, and my first big steps. Most days now, I'm at, before I eat my first meal, I'm between 6,000 and 8,000 steps in the bucket. You got to count calories for a couple weeks. I'm amazed at how few calories there are in cottage cheese, and I'm amazed at how many calories there are in potato chips or crisps for many of my audience. I'm amazed how few calories there are in steak and salmon, and how many calories there are, how few in steak and salmon, and how many there are in bread. I'm amazed that I can eat a lot of fruit, vegetables, and protein and lean out, but if I shift over to grains and crap food, I do the opposite of lean out. David, you got to deal with calorie control. I always recommend Bill Gifford. By the way, Bill, who has trained in my gym with me, great guy. His book, Spring Chicken. There's a great chapter in there about a man fighting with his own demons who took on caloric control and exercise. I would say, first and foremost, you gotta have control of your calories. I would also recommend you see a medical doctor. We have a toolkit now we didn't have 20 years ago that'll help you with a whole bunch of issues. I'm not gonna tell you what I think you should do with your medical doctor, but there are lots of tools now that can help you on your journey. Medical intervention, caloric control. I would also hire a nutritionist like I did, and take care of that. And you'll sleep better and you'll have a lot more energy. I hope that helped. We have a question from Ivo, and I'm a 51-year-old man with 45 years experience in weight training, former judo competitor, kettlebells, body weight. For the last few months, I've been following the armor building formula. I bought the book. See, that really helps, not just because it's my book, but those of you who just go online and try to patch together things, it's the telephone game, you go to these threads, and I think Dan John said this, read what I said, armorbuildingformula.com or danjohnuniversity.com/bookstore. I have been following the armor building system. I bought the book and can say the program is fantastic. I have adjustable kettlebells ranging from 16 to 32 kilograms, as well as two 40-kilo kettlebells. Boy, you do the ABF with that, that'll be a good workout. After this long introduction, here are my two questions. Based on my experience and how well I know my body, I follow the program in this way. In week 1 on press days, I combine the seesaw press with pull-ups on rings. Okay. This combination works well for me, with pull-ups serving as active rest. What is your opinion on this? I like it a lot. Now, I'm coming out, and I thought we'd be published by now, but the armor building formula is going to have a new book on it. It's coming out, and I recommend how to do pull-ups. And you're very close to what my recommendations are. But even more importantly, you're doing them with rings, and you figured it out for yourself. You thought for yourself. Salute. Do you think it's okay, considering I don't go to failure on pull-ups? Yes, I love the idea. If you think that if you're good at chin-ups, pull-ups, I like the parallel grip, and my friend Mr. Kwan from Australia here gave me these new cool grips that go like this and this. I can't wait to do my program with those. They don't hurt my elbows as much. I love the idea, as long as you don't go to failure. I think that's the key. In the armor building complex, I've reached 30 minutes with two 24-kilo kettlebells. What's the next step? Oh, you have the book, and I tell you what to do. For most people, I think you just should repeat the program at least once and then slide into something else. Most people that I'm getting the best feedback are doing this, Evo, is that they do armor building formula, 8 weeks. Come back and redo the entire program, including the 2-week buildup for 8 weeks. So that's 16 weeks. Then 2 rounds of easy strength for fat loss. So barbell focused. If all you have is kettlebells, obviously we'll have to adapt that and do 1 or 2 cycles of easy strength for fat loss. So it works well with the barbells. You're giving yourself, 80 days, whatever 80 days turns out to be for most of you, 16 weeks for most of us. You're giving yourself all that time to kind of unlearn the lessons of the armor building complex, in a sense, if you follow what I mean. You forget how miserable 30 rounds of every minute, and then it can be, and you start to get hungry to get back into that workout. If 2 rounds of easy strength for fat loss is too much for you, 1 round is fine, or any other appropriate program that focuses on just standard lifting. That's my advice to you. I love the idea of doing reasonable pull-ups mixed with presses. The problem is, once I say do pull-ups, 1,000 questions come in. I can't do 1 pull-up, what should I do? Pull-ups hurt my elbows. I don't have a place to do pull-ups. So that's why, Evo, I often hide away from that question. Thank you very much. Nicholas asked a question, and here we go again, another armor building formula question. I had purchased the Armor Building Formula ebook right around when it first came out and finally finished the 100 press 30 round ABC challenge with double 20s a couple of months ago. Good job. I wasn't able to progress anywhere nearly as quickly as the book outlined, and that's fine. The problem with writing a book, the problem with making a program is, as good as it can be, it might not be for you. I learned this from one of my doctors, Dr. Dan Henry, years ago. I was having problems with allergies, and he put me on an allergy medicine. And I put on 10 pounds almost within 2 or 3 days. And I called him up, and he said, come in. And then he looked at it, and one of the side effects, for 1% of the population, there was severe body weight gain very quickly. And he looked up and he said, if you're in that 1%, it's 100% for you. So whenever I write a program, it might be good for half the population of our listeners. It might be the worst idea ever for 10% of our listeners. And it's far too small for 5% of our listeners. And that's fine. If you don't progress as a lot of the people that I work with progress, that's fine. Funny thing is, you might be the person who can also sprint up a hill and beat the rest of us badly. You might be the person who can swim the English Channel. Well, you can't do the ABF as prescribed, but you have this other set of skills that we don't have, or whatever. And I am looking for guidance on what I should try next. I can do a fair amount of presses with double 24s and do around 15 rounds of the ABC before I completely gas out. Given it took me so long to reach 30 rounds with double 20s, it seems like a huge jump to immediately repeat the whole thing with more weight. And I agree with you. I've just been doing different combinations of moves since finishing the program, but I would prefer to switch to something structured. Are you able to recommend a program that will prepare me to do the ABF with more weight? I'm going to give you a prescription like Dr. Dan Henry gave me. So my thought is this, and this is for a lot of you. For me, I can progress right up. I mean, I don't know. Today, I don't know, but let's say I can do the double 16s on the ABF in the program, and I get all 30 rounds. But I can do the 2, 3, 5, 10 in the presses for 100 reps with the 28, which is very doable for me. Well, maybe I nudge to the 20s with the ABCs, and maybe I go 2, 3, 5, or 2, 3, or 2 with the 32, 3 with the 28, 5 with the 28, 10 with the 28, or 2 with the 32s, 3 with the 32s, 5 with the 28s, and 10 with the 24s. And then maybe I just slowly nudge up the 20s. You can even try this if you have enough bells. Do on your heavy day, do the 24s, but pretend it's the medium day reps. So do the 24s for 5 or 10 rounds, and then slide back to the 20s for those longer, for the other 2 workouts. Or, and I know this confuses people when I say or you can just mix and match things. So you're just kind of doing some undulating periodization over the time. It's not uncommon what's happening to you. And for many of our listeners, the squat is the biggest challenge in the whole thing. For other listeners, it's the press. And that's just the way we're built, and that's the nature and our experience. I hope that helped. If you're confused, please send a follow-up question to the podcast. And I'm already seeing that I might have to write a third book on the armor building formula, because that's a great variation that I just said. Wow, there you go. Rainbow Beach and a whole bunch of whales, WHALES, are right out that door. And I'm going to head out there and spend the day on the beach. It's an honor, as always, working with you. If you have questions, please send them to the podcast at danjohnuniversity.com. And until next time, let's all keep on lifting and learning. Thank you.